Hello, everybody. At long last, well, certainly for us, we are here on our first day of recording, and we're so excited to be here with you. I am Angela Killian, and this is my beautiful sister, Samantha Carver. Together, we make up Not Us podcast.
Yeah, a podcast where people committed to finding their right room or rooms, hosted by myself and Angela. Just a couple of disclaimers. We're not doctors, therapists, gurus, or witches. We don't claim to have the answers, but we are curious. The opinions expressed in this episode are our own and subjected to change, for entertainment only and to share personal stories. Swearing is likely because we've earned that right. Welcome to Not Us.
Potty mouths, that's why.
Potty mouths.
So,
and after this morning, we definitely might be on the verge of swearing.
Oh my gosh. You know, no one tells you what is involved in starting a podcast. When we first originally spoke about it, we popped onto Instagram and we said, hello, everyone, we're going to be doing a live this Friday. And then when we started trying to do that, other than the technical things that you have to sort out, we were like, no, there's a really good reason why people pre-record podcasts. So if you're wondering what happened, that's it. We got ourselves together. We thought, if we're going to do this, let's do it properly. And so we reshuffled our thoughts and where we're going with everything. And finally, we are here, day one of recording. How are you feeling, sis?
Oh, so nervous. Like I cannot actually believe that I'm sitting in this chair willingly. I'm super nervous, but I think the one thing that will help take the edge off is our go-to party option, which is a shot of tequila. So I think we need to do it just to like get rid of the nerves, and so that I can actually make it through this first episode.
I mean, do you actually want to give some context? Okay, firstly, I haven't, as you can see, this is a full bottle because I stopped drinking tequila many moons ago. And there's a good reason for it. I don't know if you want to embellish on my behavior when I'm on tequila.
No, I think you should. You should own it.
So basically, when I have too much tequila,
or tequila at all,
I start feeling the need to participate in community service, as I like to call it. And what that equals is generally spreading myself out amongst the room, kissing anyone who looks like no one would kiss them. And it escalates from there. So I'm doing this in the confines of my house where I'm safe. I'll be let loose.
She becomes good time, Ange. Good time, Ange.
Of course, another thing to keep in mind is that we are recording a couple of episodes today. So probably by, if you see us on week 3 and we're a lot more cash, it's because we've hit a couple of these. So, sis, yes to Not Us.
Yes to you, yes to me, friends forever we may be. If by chance you disagree, well, fuck you and yes to me.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And that's why we have tequila, because there's no one that freaks out. There's an ugly tequila face, quite like Angela. Not that it's ugly, but it's very dramatic. Woo! Okay.
Right, ready. I've got my nice chamomile tea here just to slide that down.
To chase it.
To chase it, exactly. So, sis, I've got a question for you. There are so many podcasts that are around. What do you think makes us unique?
Yeah, I mean, I read a stat the other day. I think there's like 5 million podcasts that are currently available.
Oh my gosh.
And I think we're not trying to compete with any of those podcasts, right? This is really about us coming together and peeling back what our conversations are like. And our conversations are a lot about change that's happening, that we're experiencing. And that's really what this podcast is about. It's really about bringing forward the messiness of change and celebrating that change, or celebrating the messiness of change. And we've done a lot of our socials has been on Instagram, and we hear about like the Instagram life where we filter our lives through a very glamorized version of what's actually happening. And through this podcast, what we want to achieve is really create a a community of women, and men are welcome to listen to it as well, but it's from our position, it's from a woman's point of view and a woman's voice and understanding, but really understanding what each of us are going through in terms of changes, not only now, but in past changes. And we know that a lot of this is what a lot of people in our lives are going through as well. They're also experiencing a lot of change. And so we're definitely not trying to compete with any other of the great podcasts. We're not trying to be a Mel Robbins or a Diary of a CEO. That's not our space. And we haven't really established exactly what we're aiming for, but we really are aiming at celebrating the messiness of change and relaying stories in terms of how we have approached handling change, whether it's by design or by life, bringing it to you. So whether you've chosen change or whether life has thrown you a curveball and presented you with change. Just in terms of where we are, we've both moved countries, and so that brings a lot of change and disruption in terms of our lives. And we know that there are friends and people that we know that are going through very different types of change, and we're fortunate in terms of experiencing their change and being on the journey with them. And we want to make sure that there is a community that other people have this opportunity to tap in and listen and to understand that they're not alone, and whatever they might be feeling, how they're experiencing things, or their approach to life. I feel like I'm waffling there.
It's all right. Keep going. You're saying all the good stuff.
That there are people that are going through the same, and that they don't have to be alone.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we really spoke about as we've been planning is our desire to continue to be curious and in question. So this podcast isn't really us coming and saying, here's all the answers. It's really just to say, here's some of the things we've experienced, here's some of the tools we've used, here's what's worked for us. But we really want to hear from you, from those of you who are listening, and what your experience is, because you may have alternative opinions. As Sam was saying in the disclaimer, it's, we're not doctors and all of those various things, witches, I would argue, and we'll talk about that sometime, I'm sure. But what we really are wanting to get away from this is just to be an invitation for those of you who are going through change to maybe, think about more, think about other possibilities, and we'd like to learn from you as well. So please, if you're listening to this, pop some messages into the chat. Let us know your thoughts. Take a picture of you listening to the podcast and pop it onto our Instagram page. It's really a community. And, I think what we really hope to take away is that if even one pearl of something lands, that'll be great. Sam, as Sam was saying, we sisters, we've come on, a lot of our journey has been similar in very different ways. And I think maybe that's a theme in life. We all there are these big topics that generally we face in this human lifetime, but we didn't grow up together. And we only met when we were a little bit, I don't want to say later in life, because now it feels like we were still kids, but we were like, I was 30 and you were something.
We were young adults is what we were.
We were young adults.
Thinking that we were mature adults. But now we are maturer adults, realizing what babies we were. But yeah, so I 100% what you said. I mean, we didn't grow up together, and I think a lot of people don't know that. I think that for a number of people, especially in my life, in my adult life, you've been around for 25 years. We've known each other for 25 years, which would have made me 23 and you 28.
Wow.
So babies. So, but I mean, so for 22 years, you weren't part of my life. 25 years, you have been part of my life. And so I think for a lot of people, they don't actually know that we didn't grow up together, and that we've had to learn how to be sisters and make the choice of whether or not we wanted to be sisters and whether we wanted to be part of each other's lives. And
that's true, because some people say you can't choose your family.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you're put in a position where you can choose, and we've chosen to be in each other's lives, and yeah, our
Yeah.
journeys together have been interesting. But we will expand on that because it's a really interesting story all on its own. And obviously, for those of you who have been adopted or are adopting a child, anything, that's something that we'll talk about in a whole episode sometime later. So
yeah. And I think to what you were saying is that we have, there's a 6-year age gap between us, and we've gone through similar experiences, maybe not at the same time. But what is quite interesting is that while we are a lot alike in some ways, our approach to change might be slightly different. And for me, you're always a great sounding board because your approach is a little softer maybe, or a little sterner in other areas. And mine can be quite like fiery and, like, this is the way we're going to do it, and it's action, action, action. And then times it might be like completely the opposite of that. And so it's a great sounding board in terms of being able to bounce off each other at different times. Really, like, in terms of experiences that you have, knowledge that you have, different tools that you might be using, and the complete opposite for me. Maybe just a little bit of insight is that Angela's quite intuitive and spiritual and quite feely. At least that's my view of it. Whereas I'm like quite practical and very logical in terms of, okay, well, this needs to happen like this. So very, very much a red personality, which, from a career perspective, that's can work quite well. Maybe in more personal relationships, the softer green might be a better approach. And so bouncing off and being able to see a different viewpoint is always great to explore, and being curious about different ways of approaching a problem or a situation.
And because this is our first podcast and I'm a rookie, I realized I actually haven't plugged in my device. So I'm just going to lean over and plug in my device, which is about to switch itself off. Oh my gosh, there's always something new, right? That you're learning. We are
about
learning.
2 hours behind schedule because we had technical issues this morning. So let's just keep rolling on with learning and being curious and the challenges that are coming forward. And let me ask you a question. What excites you about this podcast, about starting this podcast? Because it's not necessarily something that was on your dance card for the year, right?
Yeah, well, look, something that has always been on my wish list, and I used to do it previously in my earlier career, is interviewing people. I always wanted to have my own talk show, like I really love interviewing, and I've done various, not podcasts, but live sessions of things. Very often though, I've been on the end of well, actually, no, I've been on both ends. I used to interview people a lot in my career as a TV presenter, but then as an actor, I would also be interviewed a lot. So it's kind of like these two different lenses that are always there. So for those of you who, just to give you a little bit of background, so my sister is a marketing specialist, and you'll get to know that, which is a real gift to have if you're doing a podcast with someone. Get sort of the marketing gurus on your side, in your team. Sam was wanting to do some more specialist pieces to put out into media. And she was like, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. And, where do I start? And I said, you start by practicing. Is that the version? Yes. You just got to do it.
But it wasn't even a case of me like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous. It's like, I hate the sound of my voice. I know that I'm like overly critical of putting myself on camera or like a voice recording or whatever. And, how do I get through those nerves? And Angela was like, you just do it. In that voice. I'm like, Listen, actress, listen, the one who's been on stage and loves, like not, I'm going to say loves being like the center of attention, but that's not necessarily the situation. I am like behind the scenes. I'm the person that does like all the thinking and we're going to move from year to year. I'm not the person that wants to be in the front. But I'm also realizing that personal branding is becoming so important. And so I'm going to have to step out from behind and put myself in this position. And Angela was trying to give me like a pep talk in terms of it's like the Nike ad says, you just do it. And my chest was just closing. I was like, no, but you don't understand. I need practice. And then we said, okay, well, you know what? I've wanted to do a podcast for a year now. How about we do a podcast? Because we always have really cool conversations. I don't know why you said yes.
Well, because I'm clearly a masochist. Because it's fun. You know what? I think so many people want to do things in life and they don't do it because of fear or every other reason that's around. And that's just not a good reason. We don't know if this is going to last beyond Christmas. We know we've planned for the next couple of months. You might all look at this and be like, really, what are they waffling on about? Whatever it might be. So, but if you don't try something, you don't open up a door. You don't step through a door to possibility. So I am an absolute possibility slut. I'm just like, what else is possible? So I'm like, okay, well, here's an opportunity to try something new. And it's with my sister. So, if we're going to fail fast, we're going to do that together. If we're going to succeed, we're going to do that together. I always wanted a baby sister. I have one. So, let's go for it and have as much fun as possible. And also, since not performing full time anymore and having a lot of time on stage and camera, there's a little part of me that also feels a bit missing as I've been doing a lot more corporate work and some other work which will come up later. And so this is also a great opportunity for me to kind of just like flex the muscles that I know so well and be here. And above all, though, is the opportunity to contribute to anyone's life with the things that I've already experienced in this life that might bring them some ease, understanding, just to go, oh my gosh, I know what you're going through, whatever that might be. That is an opportunity and a gift not to be missed. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Support my sister, have some fun, and hopefully contribute something to all your lives as well in some way.
When you were saying, we don't know if this is going to like last beyond Christmas, what popped into my head, it was like, yeah, people might think that we have a voice for silent movies and a face for radio.
Silent movie stars.
Okay. Yes. I mean, what's the format? Like, what do you think what do people experience in terms of what our format is going to be like?
So we will be posting these once a week. That is right, eh? Once a week.
Yeah.
Sunday morning. You can see my sister does all the strategy.
On a Friday.
So on a Friday, we will be posting on a Friday, and then and we've got a bunch of great topics lined up for the next couple of months. So, and then in that time, we will be popping a couple of posts and things that relate to what we've been speaking about on Instagram, and more than anything, feeding back what we hear from you as well. So if a topic gets exciting, and I think the thing that Sam and I have both agreed on, both of us know that life happens while you're making other plans. Mm-hmm. So we have got this plan in place, but if something comes up, it comes up in the media, whatever comes up, we are really flexible. So at this point, every Friday, we will be posting a podcast. We'll be sharing things in the week. We may decide to hop on randomly at some point in time and have a bonus edition. But yes, and you can expect these to be concise. They will be quite raw. As you can see, we may waffle a bit. We both have potty mouths, so we'll probably post in the evening, and you maybe don't want to play them for your kids during the day. And we'll be having really real conversations. there's just one thing that comes up that I do want to say to you is that if you are watching this, thank you. Your life is so precious, and to give us even 10 minutes of your time is really appreciated. And we hope that we can fill that space with something that is a contribution to your life. And so we really appreciate that. And secondly, we just are so excited to hear your stories. So those stories that come back, if you will allow us to share them, we'll share them. We'll also have a couple of guests on with us who will share their stories. We, as humanity, we are natural storytellers. If you go back in every culture, there are stories, if they're written on caves, if they're written in parchment, if they're told from generation to generation, we are storytellers. And so we will share our stories with you. We will hear your stories and create a community.
Yeah, and this is not lecture hour. We're not, like we said in the disclaimer, this is not about us having answers. This is about us challenging a topic or presenting a topic through a story and an experience that each one of us has had, or a guest has had, that we think might be relevant to the audience in terms of what they might be going through. So that might be career pivots, or dating after divorce, or breakdowns of relationships, or all of that, going through all of that shits at the same time. Or it could be, the changes by design, deciding that you want to live in the UK and planting that seed into the universe, and 3 years later finding yourself bitching about how shit the commute is into the office on a grey, miserable, UK day, and that's 8 months of the year. And then reminding yourself, actually, I manifested this, and what a blessing that is. There's, as I sit here, just where I find myself, and I think we discussed this during the week, where I said, well, really, what it feels like in my own life, it feels like on the other side of the world, a butterfly has like flapped its wings, and there's all this change that's happening in my own life. But really, if I think about it, about 3 years ago, I was going to have an intake call with a life coach. And while I was standing at the bus stop waiting to catch the bus to work, I thought to myself, what is it that I want to get out of this session, or these sessions with her? Like, what is the output that I want? Because I'm very task orientated, and I'm trying not to use the word very in descriptions of myself. I'm task orientated. So if I'm doing something, I want to know what the outcome is. What's the desired outcome? What am I hoping to achieve? And what I was hoping to achieve was really just being able to remove myself from situations that I know that are no longer serving me. And I went on a journey with her for 2 years, and stopped that last year to journey, do a little bit of my own self work. But as I sit here, I kind of go, well, actually, standing on that Thursday morning at the bus stop, that's when I planted the seeds of the challenges that I've been, working through over the last year and a half, and where I find myself today, sitting on a chair, starting a podcast with my sister and speaking about change and being curious and challenging your own viewpoint and your own decisions, and looking at what else is possible in terms of your life and what else you can create. And sometimes it's kind of scary to say, well, you planted the seeds for this change that you're experiencing now. And so, and that's, just in terms of speaking about change happens by design, or by, life presenting stuff to you. Sometimes we forget about the seeds that we've planted many years ago. And the fruit that we reaping, is that right? Reap, yeah.
Fruit we reap.
That come out much later.
Yeah. What's that saying? Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I found that when I, in the same way, I had also I was making new choices for myself and my life. And choice always sounds like such an intellectual, written out thing, and probably is for some people. But sometimes it's just as simple as, I don't want to feel this way anymore, or I'd like to feel this way. That could be a choice. I just want more of that. Feeling good today, I want more of that. That can be your choice. But I was choosing more for myself, and then ended up, creating a life moving from South Africa to London, which I wanted to do. I've dreamt of living in London, literally, I think, since my mom bought me my first little book with the Queen on as like a child. You know what I mean? I've been a royalist my whole life. Sorry for those who aren't.
Since 1905.
That's right. So forever. So and so then I found myself finally in the dream, and I've created the dream, and it was tough. The first year, people tell you it's tough. I've lived in many countries in the world as an actor, performing and staying, I'm used to that change, but generally you're living in a hotel. And so you don't really get the full experience of, coming as a South African, and someone's talking about a radiator. And I'm like, it's not going on. And they're like, we'll bleed it. What does that mean? Bleed a radiator. It reminds me of Schitt's Creek when they're making a recipe, and David and Moira, she's saying, fold in the cheese. What does fold in the cheese mean? How do you fold cheese? Do you fold it? So same kind of thing. Everything is brand new. And I stood in the kitchen and I was like, okay, let me think about my life, and is it better? And I was like, I no longer have someone who comes to help me clean my house and do my ironing and do all of that. I no longer have a gardener. The things you just have generally in South Africa. I don't have my beautiful luxury car. I don't have my big house with my swimming pool. And the list went on. I'm no longer going to my dance classes. I'm not going to boxing anymore. And I had this huge list of things. And I looked at it and I was like, well, I feel like my life hasn't improved. And I was like, well, if I look at all those things, no, it hasn't. I now commute and carry heavy bags if I'm just going to the shop. I have to walk my dogs every day because they're not going to daycare. It was just all of these things where life is so much harder.
Yeah.
And then I paused and I was like, but this was not this, but you chose this life. So now choose again, choose more. And I also just realized at the time that what I was really desiring when I made the choice was freedom to walk the street at any time that I wanted to. There were a whole bunch of reasons, other things that I chose. It wasn't about having a car, and so I got what I'd asked for. And so the beautiful thing is that you can make a choice and you can change your life, but that doesn't mean now that's the end of the road. Like, now I've changed and now I'm here and this is where I have to stay. We are the only beings, the only creatures that feel like we've got to have a constant all the time. Everything else in nature changes and evolves and moves. The trees change seasonally, everything grows. And so we can do that as well. So if I'm, today going, well, that was great, but now I want more. That's okay. Choose again and choose again. Every 10 seconds, you can choose something new. So, that's me on my.
I think you raise I think you raise a great point, right? In nature, there are 4 seasons. In a 24-hour day, there are many, there's ebbs and flows. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. And I think what you've just said there is really powerful, in that wherever we are, we have created that moment. And we can recreate and improve and change the moment. And we are constantly in creation. And it's about mindset, right? What are the stories that you're telling yourself that are giving you the experiences that you're having? Because often I think when we make a wish, we don't think about, okay, what does that actually entail? So we say, well, I want to move to the UK. And I mean, the fact that I'm in the Netherlands, I remember when I was leaving the UK, and this is probably about 23 years ago, I remember on my way back to South Africa thinking, wouldn't it be nice to live in a country where English is not the first language? And I had said, like the Netherlands. I had never been to the Netherlands. I don't know why I thought the Netherlands, because I spent my entire 12 years of school avoiding learning Afrikaans, because where in the world would I use it? Well, hello, you might use it in the Netherlands, where you'll find yourself at the age of 43. And so it's always wild for me when I think about 26-year-old Sam making this comment to herself, and I don't know why it's stuck in my head, but making this comment to myself, and then 17 years later, Jackie and myself making the decision or having the opportunity to move to the Netherlands during COVID, and have been here for almost 5 years. So it really is a very interesting. It's very interesting when you realize how creative and how powerful you really are in creating the life that you want. And of course, that can be quite daunting, because then wherever you are, you don't have anyone else to blame but yourself. And I think that's the message, right? Is that we like to assign blame to everyone else, but really the onus and responsibility is with self.
So yeah, sis, I have to, considering what we're talking about, I actually have to, well, thank you, but also, I think people think that we've suddenly landed. Now that's why we're ready to do a podcast, because everything is like good now. And life is constantly has these highs and lows. But, this is when you really want to have a sister or a girlfriend, a friend close by, because in those first few months when it was the most intense period, I think if I had known how intense it could be, I probably would have really reconsidered the choices I was making. And you were on a plane over to the UK to come and check on me and see that I was okay, with your own eyes. Because certainly someone like me, I can, having been a performer all my life, I can really put on a poker face. But you have to really know me to see in my eyes if there's a deep sadness or a deep something going on. And thank you for spotting that and for coming to be here and check on me, flying to another country. And without that, and I think that's the power of having sisters and having women and friends, and that might be your grandmothers, mothers. Just that sisterhood is a real gift. So thank you.
It's only a pleasure. And listen, you are possibly the only person that I know that would move countries with 5 animals. I mean, we moved countries with 2 dogs, and that itself, I mean, listen, the first 4 months that we were here, we didn't have Matsi and Rex with us. I felt like my heart was out of my body. I was not whole. When they arrived, it really grounded and it felt like the family was back together. But to have done that with 5 animals, I really do not know how you did that. And I flew over just to see that you had not lost your mind, because you did it, and you did it on your own. It's not like you did this, you made this massive move with a partner or with someone to support you. So, talk about, thank goodness you didn't know what was in store for you, because I don't think anyone would choose to move 10,000 kilometers away from what they know and their life and their network, to start afresh in a different country with, quite a smaller network, and
3 dogs and 2
cats. 3 dogs, 2 cats, and in a new city, and just it's madness. But well done, you're doing great. And they normally said the first 2 years are the hardest, and you were certainly determined that it wasn't going to take you 2 years. I, on the other hand, was like, okay, the first 2 years are going to suck. Let's just get to the 2-year mark and then figure stuff out. And I'm really good with that. I'm very, again, trying not to use the word very, but I'm quite like, okay, there's the task. If I'm at gym and I'm really struggling with the weights, it's like, okay, we need to get to 20. All right, I will push through till we get to that 20. maybe 21. But your approach was a little bit different. You're like, no, 2 years, absolutely not doing 2 years. This is going to be different in a year's time. And I think that demonstrates how different we are in terms of approaches. I'll be like, okay, cool, 2 years. We'll like push through this. Angela's like, 2 years? No, I don't think so. We'll try something else.
I can't do hard suffering for that length of time. I'm not designed for prison, Sam.
No, exactly. You know, you've seen that meme on or that video on Instagram. If you could get 200 million and your sister had to go to prison for a year, I mean, I've sent that to you and Tracy. I will look after you when you get out. It's just a year. Think about our future. I, on the other hand, I'm definitely not made for prison. You would have to give me the entire 200 million.
The difference is you would go to prison and become a top dog. I would go to prison and become a top dog's bitch to make sure I was well taken care of.
I think it would be the other way around. You would float your way to the top, and I would be like, I would be in a very awkward position with my resting bitch face. Angela would sweet talk her way, flirt her way into a comfortable position, and I would have to be fighting for my dear life just because my face is my face and my energy is like, what you looking at?
You know, when we used to go out on Friday nights to specifically to the girly clubs, and you know, if the girls were being a bit hectic or picking on myself or Jackie, you know, we would just call on Sam, and it would be like, I'm gonna call my sister. Sammy, what's happening in the corner?
And all I had to offer was my AK-47, as in my mouth.
Look,
and my mouth that does not know how to shut up. You know, the distance between my brain and my mouth is very short. And so just in terms of, I think we need to wrap up this first episode. Do you want to maybe explain why we'll be dropping our episodes on a Friday night and why the name Not Us?
So Friday nights used to be our party night back in the day. And so, you know, it was always community service, as I like to call it. Tequila and whatever else played out. Community service on Fridays. And then as life has moved us along and now we are mature and have ourselves together, we do laugh because we end up then when Sam is visited, Friday nights, we're quite happy to sit and have a cup of tea and yak on for hours about life and the meaning of life. So when we were looking at our podcast originally, we wanted to call it From Tequila to Tea. Well, it feels like one of those 5,000 or however many podcasts are out there had already chosen the name. So what we decided then is that we would start the episode with a tequila shot, just so that we remember our roots. And then a cup of tea. You'll be making your cup of tea.
Yeah. So, and that's also why we're dropping. And so we're dropping our episodes on a Friday night, in homage to our wild Friday nights, which have now changed. And it doesn't mean that they're not wild, but they just are a little bit different now.
That's right.
And the reason why we called the show Not Us is because, well, I mean, like Angela said, we were looking at tequila to tea, but it's been taken and used in a variety of ways. But what we did like is that this podcast is really about challenging the expectations and the expectations of women our age, you know, people of a certain generation or whatever that might look like. But it's also about we are both quite rebellious, but not for the sake of being rebellious, just because we are a little bit more conscious as to whether or not something fits us and whether we want to do it. And so we thought that the name Not Us was appropriate in terms of where we are right now and who we are becoming.
Yes. And one of the other things that we are going to try and do is always, because we really encourage you to be in question always and curious, is to ask ourselves a question at the end of, and these are surprise questions potentially. So sister, I am going to ask you a question as we close off. And I was trying to decide which of the questions I wanted, but then I actually thought, for all of the variations, the things that are very different about us, the one thing that we both really love is a dessert, a sweet, our sweet tooth. I even Saturday just talking about it. So if you could eat only one dessert for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It would definitely be chocolate cake.
And you bake a mean one.
Yeah, but it needs to be a nice, moist chocolate cake, like a devil food cake chocolate cake.
Ooh.
Nice, rich, flavorsome. And yourself?
Luxurious.
What would it be? Luxurious.
I don't really like cake. So, I mean, unless it's cheesecake, like baked cheesecake. Like I like baked desserts. So
let me guess. Yours is ice cream.
Of course. We've just been on holiday every day.
Lactose intolerant.
There's vegan ice cream now. There's great vegan ice cream. And I also feel like there are occasions when you just have to suffer. So sometimes, you just got to suffer the ice cream agony because it's so delicious.
Yeah.
Yes, probably ice cream. Cheesecake with ice cream, because if I'm going to eat any kind of cake, no matter what that cake is, it has to come with a blob of ice cream. So even if I'm ordering, the only thing I won't eat is carrot cake and cake. But if any other cake comes, I'm just like, okay, it's going to come with ice cream.
A nice moist chocolate cake, a piece of chocolate cake with a really good vanilla bean, like a vanilla bean ice cream. That is heaven.
Heaven. There you go.
That would be my dessert. Okay, so this is the end of episode 1. We hope that you guys are looking forward to what we have in store. As Angela said, reach out to us, and you can reach out to us on notuspod, that is NOTUSPOD @gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and we're not on TikTok unless Angela decides that she will manage that, because TikTok is my heroine. So we're not there yet, but I do have a feeling that we will find our way there under Angela's guidance and supervision. And listen to us on wherever you find your podcasts. Dropping every week on Friday, and our first episode goes out next week, which will be the 10th of October.
That's right. And drop in the chat to us what change means to you. We'd love to hear that in the chat. Pop us a little note about what change means to you. That's it from us.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye, everyone. Like, share, and comment. Bye.